And what we're here to talk about is and we have, oh, no, okay. We're here to talk about a very disturbing national crime trend that has hit Orange County and the Hudson Valley. And we're not alone. This is happening throughout the country, but it's happened with a particular vehemence here in Orange County. Over the past few years, residents have been the targets of a new type of crime. It's called swatting. And over the past few weeks, we have seen the response that this new crime is meant to trigger right here in Middletown more than once. What is swatting? Swatting is an attack where an individual calls the police with the sole purpose of directing emergency responders and other law enforcement teams like SWAT teams, that's how it got the name, to an unsuspecting resident's home or even, as we saw here, a local school with hundreds of innocent children. These calls go way beyond your old-fashioned prank call. The calls are made to harass and victimize innocent people. They put law enforcement in danger. What the perpetrators do is they call up the police and allege something that would warrant a drastic response. There's a hostage situation on Elm Street, okay? There's a robbery at someone's home. Someone's here with a gun. These are the kinds of things that are called, or there's a bomb in the locker of a school. And of course, when our police and first responders hear this, they have no choice. They have to rush over, but it's not just one police car rushing over. If you think it's a hostage situation, you need SWAT team. You need people who deal in hostage taking, who could talk the hostage taker out of doing any harm. If it's a bomb, you need a bomb squad to come over. And because it's done with hundreds and hundreds of people at risk, the police have to hurry. So it ends up being expensive and even dangerous. On Long Island, a police officer rushing to one of these SWAT calls was severely injured when someone crashed into his car as he was rushing over. Now, we've had this here in this area. A week ago, there were back-to-back threats here in the Middletown school districts. The first was at nearby Monhegan Middle School. A threat was called in, and the person on the phone said there was a bomb somewhere inside the school. Can you imagine the panic this caused with the students and the teachers? Horrible. Students were evacuated and taken here to Maple Hill Elementary to ensure they were safe. The police took 2 hours to search. They brought their canine bomb sniffing units to determine the threat was a fake. It wasted the time of students, teachers, and law enforcement. Thank God no one was hurt, but someone could have been. The following day, a similar threat was called here to Maple Hill Elementary. The caller said a bomb was set to go off in the parking lot. That prompted school officials to lock down the school and call in police to search the premises. In both cases, it was a fake, but it took hours for the New York State Police, the Orange County Sheriff's Office, and the Town of Wallkill Police to investigate these phone threats. This wasted the time of students, teachers, and multiple police. How did this person call in? He used a fake internet number. There's an internet program that reroutes your call through several different servers and spoofed another person's phone number. One of the calls showed up on the school's ID system as a Texas number. Not only does this prove to be a fake, but the recorded voice on the phone was altered as well, making it more difficult to decipher who called in the threat. So this kind of incident and subsequent response is not only terrifying for bystanders, but it's going to cost the town and the county thousands of dollars, needlessly spent. When these attacks happen, law enforcement and SWAT teams don't find the real criminal, the person who initially made the call. What they find, of course, is terrified innocent residents, even school children who are targets of the prankster. And the truth is, these are not pranks at all. These swatting attacks are serious criminal acts in which our first responders use up their time, their energy, their resources responding to false threats when they could have been elsewhere protecting the community from real ones. And here's some other instances of swatting. We do know of instances where criminals called up, disguising their number, and drove the police to one area, and then they committed a robbery somewhere else, because all the police were responding to the alleged hostage situation. We do know of situations, which often occurs, where online game players get so angry at the person they're playing with that they SWAT their house or their place of business. And again, because of the advances in technology, it's harder and harder to trace them so they don't get caught. Plain and simple, these attacks are a violent, terrifying use of force, purposefully made to harass the squatter's victim and local law enforcement. And it's happening throughout the entire Hudson Valley. The other day, a local man called in a bomb threat against the Newburgh Social Security office. On top of the diverted law enforcement resources, when these responses are triggered, they mean shutting down roads for hours, even closing area buildings and businesses. And they're not just aimed at schools and places of business, they're often aimed at individual people. Here's an example. Just a few months ago in Eastchester, a quiet town in Westchester, the local PD was called and told a resident had stabbed his girlfriend and had her family tied up and held hostage in their home. Only after they sent in police units from several local departments, a SWAT team, and a Westchester County helicopter were they able to identify the attack as fake. So it can happen anywhere to anyone, and it's on the increase. Why is it on the increase? Mainly because people can disguise who it is, and mainly because our laws are inadequate, because it is a new phenomenon. So this is why I'm here today. We need to make sure that every time a 911 dispatcher answers a call, it's a real emergency. We need to SWAT down this disturbing trend before it's too late and someone's seriously hurt. So we're doing three things. First, I'm announcing toughening up the law. There is a broad federal law against making a false call, but it's not tight enough. And the FBI and other law enforcement tell us that it's not good enough. And we need a federal law because many of these calls occur out of state. So our local state laws don't work. So we need a federal law. We need tough penalties. We say that a swatter could face 8 years in prison. Right now, there's a New York state law that only calls for 1 year in prison, not enough. Second, the swatting perpetrator will have to pay the costs to whomever incurred them, to the locality, to the business, to the school district. If they know and they make a SWAT call and they're called, not only do they face jail time, but they're going to be out $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, they're much less likely to do it. And finally, our bill would close loopholes to make it a crime to call law enforcement and disguise your caller ID. Here's an irony in the law. It is now illegal if you call on a landline and disguise your phone number. But it is not against the law if you do so on your cell phone or over the internet. That's because the law is old, before cell phones and internet were invented. So we make it a crime to disguise caller ID on Skype or any internet phone service, a serious crime. And I'm working, in fact, with local Representative Elliot Engel. I don't think he represents any of does he represent any of Orange County? No. But he represents parts of Rockland and Westchester County to get this done. The Anti-Swatting Act would greatly expand the power of law enforcement to go after swatting. Our FBI is very good at piercing the veil of these false calls. They have the technology that local police departments don't. And so bringing the FBI into these cases will help our local law enforcement and greatly discourage swatting. We need to do these things, and I'm going to work hard to get this bill passed by the end of session to make sure that this horrible crime of swatting does not continue to increase, but in fact we nip it in the bud and it stops. With that, we have a lot of people here, and I'm going to call on a few, but first let me call on our great county executive, Steve Newhouse, who I work so closely with. We don't let party divisions get in our way. We don't.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator Schumer. I think you're probably the most accessible elected official. I mean, you are everywhere, and you have a lot of weight on your shoulders. The last couple months, what you've done with national security is really not an easy task, and we do appreciate you on every level that you're fighting for us.
Appreciate it,
This
Steve.
is a serious concern, like the senator mentioned. The amount of bomb threats in schools are up this year compared to last year, and we're not even through to the 2015. We go by calendar years, not by school years. Superintendent Eastwood, you do a wonderful job here too. You have a tough road like I do with budgets, but you're making a great impact on your community. We support you 100%. What the senator is saying is really true. When you talk about the bomb threats, they're really calling in the cavalry. We don't take anything for granted. We just did an active shooter drill about 3 weeks ago. Very frightening, but very real world. And every bomb threat we get, we call in everybody we have. We don't have anybody on the second tier ready to go. We call everyone that we can, sheriff's office, state police, local law enforcement, because we're not taking any chances. And when you have these bomb threats, what you do is you see all these resources, all this anxiety, all the emotions, everything put in high gear, and for nothing. And you see the parents are getting text messages from the students. The law enforcement's trying to keep a perimeter to try to secure the location. Some parents are compliant. Some parents want to get in there and help their kids. It's a natural emotion for a parent, but it adds to the chaos. So we need to do everything we can. The senator outlined the archaic punishments, some that are predating the cell phone and high technology age that we have in now. We need to update everything to give not only federal prosecutors, but our local prosecutors, like my partner Dave Hoovler, all the tools they can to really take this seriously and try to prevent these really acts of crime that really get everything spun up, all these resources, and really just leave a trail of a mess in the background. So, Senator, I applaud you once again for being on top of an issue, and we are behind you 100% in Orange County. Thank you.
D.A. Hubler, do you want to say something?
First, I'd really like to thank the senator for being here today. I applaud his efforts to enhance the legislation regarding swatting. As far as the two incidents that occurred here in Orange County just in the recent weeks, the investigations are continuing with them. I have to say that the wonderful law enforcement community we have here took all the appropriate steps. They're doing everything necessary to investigate those cases, and we'll take those investigations wherever they go to. The senator did hit on something that it's problematic at the state level to prosecute some of these offenses because the numbers are spoofed. They're very easy. It's very easy to do that, and they're relayed through out-of-state locations, sometimes out-of-country locations,
Right.
which makes it very difficult sometimes for us to prosecute, and even difficult at times for federal prosecutors to investigate and prosecute. But I think the starting point for this and any legislation, as the senator said, is those that do this type of thing be held accountable, not only in the criminal, in the courtroom, but they be held accountable financially for the cost, the out-of-pocket expense to the taxpayers and the EMS, because it does cost EMS time, effort, and money, and it does place our citizens at risk because, as the senator and the county executive said, nothing is taken for granted at any level. Any offense that somebody alleges, it is investigated. If you saw the grid search that occurred here, if you saw what happened at the other locations, these law enforcement officers are professional. They're going to do their job. So in closing, I applaud the senator for everything he's doing, and thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have a lot of people here, and I'm trying to figure out the proper order to call people. I think we'll do it. We're doing it by size of jurisdiction. So next comes Aileen Gunther, our great assembly member.
Well, thank you for coming today. We really appreciate all the work that you do for New York State. And every time I watch you on television, I'm just so proud that you are our senator.
Thank you.
And today I learned I have a lot of work to do when I go back in January to strengthen the laws in New York State, to collaborate with the senator from the federal to a state level. And certainly I'll be working on, I want to thank Ken Eastwood for all the work that he does in the Middletown School District. So thank you, Senator, and it's a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you, Aileen. And next, Ken Eastwood has done a great job here. Everyone has done a great. We have no complaints with anyone locally. They've all done a great job, whether it be our school superintendent, our local law enforcement, our county government. They all rose to the occasion. Nothing to do their fault, but we need a little federal help to prevent this from happening. So let me call up Ken to say a few words. Thank you.
One of the things that I at least know, and I know that a lot of my colleagues know, the senator for is out there fighting on a consistent basis for New Yorkers, and oftentimes about what might be common sense solutions. This is a common sense solution that, for a better term, as the senator said, is old law. And we need to update it. We need to update it because, from our perspective, we're basically sick and tired of our students losing instructional time, our parents and students becoming very scared about the environment that they're in because of these fake calls, and the frustration about not being able to find the perpetrators in these circumstances so they can be dealt with in an appropriate manner. The senator, very interesting enough, when we started talking to his office about it, has a law. He's ahead of the game, just like we expected him and understand him to be. And we appreciate everything that he's going to do. And of course, Aileen recently speaking about New York State. We really need something to help our kids, our parents, and our schools in this instance. And thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you, sir.
Superintendent. Okay, now let's see here. See if I get my sizes right. I guess next is our supervisor of the Town of Wallkill, and that is Dan Depew.
Thank you, Senator.
Dan, thanks.
Thank you for being here. Everybody's sung Senator Schumer's graces today and praises, and their right to do so. Ever since you've taken this job as our senator here in New York State, boots on the ground every day. I don't know how your staff keeps up with the press conferences. How many more today, guys? Probably 3 or 4. But all on important issues. And like Ken Eastwood said, common sense stuff. I think with the divisiveness that we see in our federal government right now, it's great to see someone who tries to run that football down the middle of the field to get it to the end zone. So great job. I concern these things on the same level as terrorism. When we were responding here back just in the summer before the end of the school year, just last year, this last school year, I was personally here, and I saw the fear in the eyes of the first responders from the state police, the sheriff's office, the Wallkill PD, and the assistance we had from Middletown firefighters, EMS. You know what I saw in their eyes, folks? Newtown. I saw in their eyes Newtown. I could see the terror in their eyes that some of the most fragile individuals in our community, our little children, were being preyed upon. And whether or not the intentions were true or not, it didn't matter to the first responders because they're going to respond every single time to protect these kids. And now we need to respond through legislation to make sure that the people who perpetrate such evil upon our society through wasting our resources or terrifying young kids or families, that they're brought to justice. And the senator's right to do so, and I'll support anybody on this who supports him to make sure it happens. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Supervisor. Okay, now we have 2 of our chiefs of police, and I don't know who has a bigger jurisdiction. I'll bet Wallkill. Is Wallkill bigger?
How about if I just go up?
Okay, great. Which is bigger, Wallkill or the city of Middletown?
Wallkill surrounds the city of
Right, so
Middletown.
you probably have more people.
So I'll let Chief Hertman do most of the talking.
On behalf of law enforcement within our community, I would like to thank the senator for his support with regard to this recent issue we had, and I also like to thank him with regard to all the ongoing support he is giving us over the number of years. Thank you, Senator.